What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. Woo, it's a big one today. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing well. How'd the bootlicking debate go?
Yes. I just debated Tim Poole on Piers Morgan's show. It was very friendly. You know, I love Tim, and he knows that. But he honestly, once we got on there, we kind of agreed on a lot of stuff. And I was
We're all licking the boot.
Well, I said if Tim wants to identify as a boot, I will respect his pronouns. So I started off like kind of with a good spirit. But yeah, actually, it was a good time, and it was nice to be back on Piers Morgan. I feel awful for you. Did you hear what happened with him? He like fell and really fucked up, like broke his femur and had to have his hip replaced and anything. So, but he's still pretty impressed. This was only like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago at most, and he's doing the show. He's not in the studio. He's doing it like I think from home, but he's still doing his show, which I thought was just, I don't know. There's something, and I really do say this. This is not at all an insult. I mean, this is the strongest possible compliment. But there's something about Piers Morgan that I just respect the shit out of. Like, even though he's had a million positions that I completely disagree with, but he is such a capitalist. Like such a pure, like it's
like our love for comedy is his love for doing television, and he's not going to miss his show, and that's awesome.
He's like, dude, they're stitching up the side of his hip with this new hip they just put in there, and he's like, Dave Smith and Tim Poole are beefing on Twitter. He's like, all right, let's make that happen. You know, like it's just great. I love it.
Do you feel bad if it's not more contentious? Like you didn't give Piers the show he was looking for?
Dude, I swear to God, I made a joke about it up front. Because Piers started the thing, but because we made up on Twitter, like Tim, like tweeted at me after we did the segment. And look, admittedly, I was pretty harsh on him, but like I kind of felt like he deserved it in the moment. And but so then he tweeted on Twitter. He was like, Dave, you're not even making a point here. You're just making fun of me. And I was like, all right, Tim, well, you weren't really making a point either. So I was just making fun of you. But here's my argument, And then I laid out my whole argument. I wrote a long tweet, and then he went, I completely agree. And then I was just like, all right, Tim, well, that's good. And I was like, look, I'm sorry if I was disrespectful or whatever, like I do respect you and blah, 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 and all the shit. But then Piers starts the show by just playing the video, by just playing the clip of what I said of him. And I'm like, oh, look at you. You're injured and you're still trying to stir shit up. Like there's just something great. And I didn't say it, but I swear I did think at one point to just be like, Piers, I promise to go real hard on the next one. Like I promised to like insult whoever the next guy that I debate is, but I don't know. I liked him, but it was good. I thought it was fun. And it was, I thought it was actually a really good, one of the better like appearances I think that I've had on the show. Although I don't know, I've had a lot.
And let the people know, escape this brutal cold and come join us in Key West. We're there all weekend. Key West Comedy Club.
That's right. Going down on Thursday, me and Rob are headed down. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we will be down there in Key West. Me and Rob are going to be in the sun, drinking fruity drinks out of a coconut or something. I don't do that. I still just have a whiskey on the beach, but whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going to be having some fun. Really looking forward to that. And then in a couple weeks, we're right here in New Jersey. At the Dojo of Comedy, which I love. It's a great little comedy club, not too far from my house. So very excited to go do that. Let's make sure we sell all those out. ComicDaveSmith.com is the website. And then we're coming all over the place. We've got a bunch of different dates.
Well, firstly, I just added this show in New Hampshire. I think that's on Valentine's Day. So, come do Valentine's Day. And then we're doing that cool brewery down in Perryville, Maryland, also middle of the month.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. That's always fun. We haven't done that place or you've done it, but I haven't done it in a few years. But I always had a real good time down there. And then we got we also got gigs like we're going back to a bunch of my favorite markets like Boston and Chicago and Denver and all that stuff. But then we're also doing Pittsburgh, and we got a date in Phoenix, and we got just like a bunch of cool stuff I'm excited for. It's gonna be a wild year, 2026. And well, hey. It's been a wild weekend. It's been wild since our last show. I guess let's start with Epstein files stuff. So that was the big news over the last few days is that the government released over 3 million pages of documents of files that don't exist, Rob, which was just fascinating to me. files that don't exist. And also there's you see, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, it's a lot like, it's like real advanced subatomic physics, you know? Things cannot exist and also be more than 3 million of them at the same time. I know that doesn't, kind of like God. It doesn't really make sense to you mere mortals, but like that's essentially this whole thing. You know, I remember that so this is like, you know, because I've been a libertarian now for 20 years, just about a little bit shy, I guess. It was 2007 that I got into this. And so, you know, I've just been around for a while. And I remember this used to be like one of my old talking points. This is way before I had ever like knew anything about the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. I, like most of you guys, didn't know about Jeffrey Epstein until he was arrested the second time in Trump's first administration. Then I learned about like who this guy had been. I hadn't heard of him before that. But I remember I used to like when I first started podcasting, which was like in around like 2012, I started doing Part of the Problem. I used to talk about this a lot. It was a big theme of mine. And in fact, even when I first did Ari Shafir's podcast, this was one of the first things I started talking about. And this was the thing that Joe Rogan saw of me and then liked me and invited me on. If you ever see the first time I'm on Rogan's podcast, the first thing he ever brings up about me is he goes, "Oh, you were breaking down this Hillary Clinton audio tape," which he hadn't heard of. Like I introduced him to it and he was fascinated by it. And so basically one of my old talking points used to be that it would be like, okay, so first step is like, okay, you learn like this libertarian, you know, insight that governments are essentially gangs. That's all this shit is gang shit. And it's just it's only that you've been mind fucked that you think of government and gang as different things. They are the same thing. All the government is the most powerful gang who took over, you know, like Rothbard Anatomy of the State shit. But then after you kind of like, you know, internalize that message, then you start to get interested in the players. Because in the same way that like, if you were thinking about like, oh, if I was telling you a story about like mob shit, well, okay, you already know we're talking about mob shit here. You're not like, were they good guys or were they criminals? You're like, yeah, well, obviously they're all criminals. But then you want to know the characters. Like, and the thing about when you understand that with government, when you understand that these are people who will lie you into a war so that their buddy can get rich, like they will comfortably decide to slaughter children by the hundreds of thousands and lose no sleep over it. You start to ask yourself, like, who the fuck are these people? Who are these people? How dark does it actually get? And so anyway, I don't know if people know this or not, but if you're an old school fan of mine, you would, because I talked about this all the time. But you can find this out there. There's a tape of Hillary Clinton where she's bragging about her days as a criminal defense lawyer when she got a pedophile off. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. It is the most sociopathic shit you've ever heard in your life. And by the way, it was like I think she was like 12. It's like a 12 or 13-year-old girl who got brutally anally raped. Okay. And then Hillary Clinton's telling the story about how they tricked the jury or they tricked the judge. And she's laughing as she does it. She goes, "We were able to convince them that this was a huge miscarriage of justice, that they were pinning it on this guy." So like she's going, "I know he did it, but we got him off," and she's laughing about it. And you just stop and you're like, yo, what? And I remember the thing I said to Rogan back then. I used to say this was like one of my talking points, you know, it was like the thing I was into in 2012. And then in 2015, when it looked like Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president, I was talking about this all the time. And I went, look, Hillary Clinton is married to a sexual predator. And her best friend is also married to a sexual predator. Like, what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that amongst regular people? That you'd be like, yo, your husband's a rapist? Wait, and your friend's husband also sends dick pics to children? That is real, by the way. All that shit's confirmed. Like, you know, I mean, Bill Clinton's been accused by like 6 women of rape and settled with several of them. And Anthony Weiner, Hillary Clinton's best friend's husband, we found the text message. I mean, he was convicted of it. So anyway, I guess that almost is like my biggest takeaway with the Epstein files we've seen so far. It's just like, yeah, we don't really know that much more than we already know. We've got some weird stuff for sure, which we could get into if you want to, Rob. But it's just like you're left with this like, man, who the fuck are these people? And I'm not claiming to like know exactly. Like, I'm not saying I have the whole thing worked out, but it is like the closer you get to it, it is so fucking dark. Like just so dark. And there's almost like there's obviously no answer here that isn't these people are like demonically evil. What exactly the story is not clear, but that much is clear. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Prolon. If you want to be your most radiant self in the new year, you got to check out Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet. It makes it easy to target fat loss, support lean muscle, and reset your metabolism so you look and feel your best in this new year. I know at the beginning of a new year is when everybody's always got like their health goals in mind. Well, here's one that's really worth taking a look at. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program that features soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. You've probably heard about like fasting diets, and there's a lot of science that demonstrates that they really are very good for you. The issue is you got to give up food. Prolon has developed a program where you can eat food and trick your body into thinking it's in a fasting state. So essentially you get all the benefits of fasting without having to give up food. So if you want to get in on it for a limited time, you can be the first in line to experience the next gen at a special savings. Prolon is offering part of the problem listeners 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to the 5-day nutrition program. Just visit prolonlife.com/POTP. That's PROLONLIFE.com/POTP to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/POTP. All right, let's get back into the show. Anyway, any thoughts that you had on it, Rob?
I feel like we're just back in the same exact place. So they released 3.5 million files. Apparently there's actually 6 million in total. So they've held a lot of the files back. The stated reason was either because it had images of death, pedophilia,
yes,
or it was part of an ongoing investigation. So it would seem to me like the worst information found a way to not make its way to the public. Not that I'm looking to see images of death or images of pedophilia, but once you add on to that anything that's part of an ongoing investigation, you now have a mechanism for basically keeping anything that's extremely of interest away from the public. So we don't have all the files. We're still in the exact same thing of, are they going to release the files? Then of the files that came out, you've got insane claims. It sounds like an old Alex Jones show. They're throwing babies off a boat. They're cooking babies and chicken. Like some of the George W. Bush is raping kids. They're killing girls and throwing them under the ninth hole at Trump's whatever. So you've got a bunch of unsubstantiated claims that are completely batshit crazy. You got some references to pizzas, which was real weird. But through it all, I think everyone's best bet is still this guy was some sort of an intelligence asset, and there was an element of blackmail. For all the talk of pedophilia, I'm not saying that people aren't pedophiles, but it does seem like most of the girls are kind of like in the 18 to 24 range. It doesn't seem like which might just be all the retracted information. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of the story other than they're clearly still just not interested in investigating it because there's hundreds of leads of co-accomplices that they're not really investigating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that it's funny because even if you think about it, there's almost like a range of where of what this could possibly fall into, like what was really going on here. I mean, at the very least, what we kind of have conclusively is that this was a guy who was involved in like the very highest level of kind of like shadow diplomacy. Like he's working out deals between all types of powerful people. He claims in an email, he himself claims to be an agent of the Rothschilds, which it is interesting, you know? And that I believe, if I'm like 99% sure of this, but I believe that Alan Dershowitz has said that the Rothschilds, one of the Rothschilds, are who connected him and Epstein to begin with. So look, there's always been essentially like the theory that's floating in the back that a lot of people on the internet, and if I'm being completely honest, probably myself and you too, not to say that we're saying like we know this to be 100% true, but the suspicion has always been that the dude was blackmailing powerful Americans, including financial, cultural, and political leaders, on behalf of Israel. Now, that has not been conclusively demonstrated. But at the very least, he was clearly very close with Israeli interests, including the Mossad, very close with powerful Zionist billionaires, and he himself was partying with young girls with all these powerful men, and he at least crossed that line of legal into underage illegal sex, right? So again, what exactly, like where exactly you put it in the either way, you got to say here, like this is, if I zoom out, the more meta take on all of this is like, this just looks, it's so devastating for the Trump administration, man. Just on every, like the mishandling of this is legendary. Like, I mean, it'll go down in history if we all survive as like one of the worst handled political scandals. The fact is that there's just no getting around this, is that all of the people at the top of the administration in relation to this, meaning the Justice Department and the White House, just fucking lied through their goddamn teeth, dude. It was last summer that Donald Trump said there are no files. It's a Democratic hoax. Pam Bondi, same thing. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, they've seen the proof that he killed himself. That sure ain't in there. I mean, maybe, listen, I should caveat that. There's 3.5 million documents here. A lot of really smart people are going to be pouring into this for days and weeks and months to come. But it certainly doesn't seem like there's anything pointing in that direction yet. So they all look awful. Also, all of the war hawks and the commentators like Ben Shapiro and Douglas Murray, who jumped on this thing and said, there are no files. I know the people in government. There's nothing there. Let's all move on. No, the voters don't care about this. They all look really bad too, because of course people do really care about this. But as I'm sure you'd agree, Rob, if the claim here is that this is a guy who was connected to intelligence agencies, was connected to powerful oligarchs, was connected to a network of billionaires, and in fact, within this network of billionaires, seems to at least be the one kind of bullying other billionaires around, a guy like this, and then in a maximum security prison, the cameras go out and he ends up dead. And there's this whole thing. If this network was powerful enough to orchestrate this whole thing, I'm pretty sure they were powerful enough to get the really sensitive documents out before, you know what I mean? Or have them redacted or have them, like, so there's just, I think the expectation that like the smoking gun document is gonna be in any of these dumps is kind of silly. And I think me and you both said this like at least a year ago. But for the Trump administration to run on, we're gonna get to the bottom of this, full transparency, and then just the way this has been done, where these guys like Thomas Massie heroically forces their hand, and then they just dump millions of documents on us without any, it just couldn't be a worse story for the administration.
So just two other interesting little tidbits. First is I enjoyed that, there's certain archetypes that just remain their archetypes, and Bill Gates is kind of a fat nerd, and he decided to show up to the party and came home with an STD. I just think that's kind of hilarious. And then I was watching clips of Epstein on with Bannon. I don't know if you watched that full 2 hours.
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch the full 2 hours, but I saw a bunch of it. Yeah.
I watched a bunch of clips, and the thing that I found most striking to me was that Bannon is just assuming and kind of selling us on the idea that this is a brilliant finance guy. And at
Yeah.
no point in the interview does he actually ask him, so where did you make your money? What were some of the trades that you made big money on? What was your investment strategy? And it's just assumed as a given throughout the entire thing that he's a brilliant mathematical mind and someone of your like he's
Yeah.
treating him like you're talking to what's his name, Warren Buffett, or somebody who's got this public track record of being an extraordinary financial mind. And it's just assumed throughout the entire interview without any questions to kind of delve, or it felt like I was being sold by Bannon on the storyline of this
100%.
guy's a financial genius.
100%. And one of the things that was weirdly kind of my big takeaway from the Bannon interview was like, it was that. It was like Bannon keeps saying how smart this guy is, and then I'm just not seeing any evidence of it. It just didn't seem that smart in the interview. It seemed like kind of, you know, like a dumb guy pontificating about a lot of things. Like me. It seemed like me, Rob. Like it just seemed like a guy who's kind of like, I don't know, he's doing the whole thing about like what is life and what is not life and what is the soul. It's like it sounded to me like a junior in high school getting high and like talking about the world. And you're like, this ain't that impressive. And like, I don't know, there's something about, it's been a theme, you know, that a lot of us have noticed. There is something about like really unimpressive elites are something that categorize this stage in American history. But anyway, that was not that that's like the most important thing, but I just found that really interesting. Yeah, Steve Bannon keeps like kind of sucking his dick about how brilliant he is the whole time. And then like you said, Rob, it's like, it's not, he was saying it almost like he's talking to Carnegie or something like that, where it's like, look, we all know, obviously, like your achievements have just been set, but none of us know your achievement. What are you talking about? Like, what did he actually do? What did he do? So that was interesting. I think there's no question that there's widespread sloppiness with how people are interpreting all of these things. Like there'll be like pictures of Jeffrey Epstein with like a kid, but it's like blacked out, but you can see the arm is clearly like a child. But then it's like, that's all, like, we have no idea. It's like, is the implication that then he went and did something to this kid, or could this have just been like his friend's kid or something? You know, like we just have no idea. And even the thing with Bill Gates, it was weird. Bill Gates didn't admit to anything. It's Jeffrey Epstein wrote an email to Bill Gates, which I think he didn't send. I think it was a draft of an email to Bill Gates saying, like, reminding him about the time that he needed to secretly give his wife antibiotics because he brought her home an STD.
I gotta write more drafts about incidences that never took place, about people that I either don't like or having a hot moment with. Just
well, the reason why that one was one of the most interesting ones, though, is because look, there's like several different layers to the Epstein scandal, and what we've gotten a lot more evidence. There was always a ton of evidence about his connections to very like Mossad linked or Israel linked people. I mean, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell was his chick, or his father, you know what I mean, was like very involved in all that shit. So we always had that. Then we've gotten through other email dumps, like direct connections to Mossad, right? So you've got like that connection kind of pretty solid. And then the pedophile stuff, it's like, well, he was convicted of this. So like you've got that down. But then it was like the blackmail aspect is what what most people just presumed would be the next thing that made this all make sense. It's like, well, you're having these parties, you got cameras in your house, you got like, why else would you be doing this other than to blackmail people? But the blackmail that area is probably the one we have the least evidence of. And so there was something very interesting, even if he never sent the email and it was just in a draft, there's something very interesting about the fact that like, that was clearly a blackmailish type of email to send. There's no reason why you're emailing someone, putting it in writing. Hey, remember that time when the most devastating thing that you would never want to come out happened and I know about it? Like the only reason to be writing it that way is to be, you know, trying to control somebody. So look, it's like, again, a lot of these things aren't exactly clear, but also like if we, you know, just imagine we had a media in this country Like, imagine we had like real networks with real journalists and real news. You would think, man, Bill Gates is going to have to answer a lot of questions about this. But we don't really have that. We got a few great people doing independent work, and then we got a big, propaganda state media apparatus that isn't interested in any of that stuff. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, a new sponsor who we're very happy to have on board, and that is Van Man. Do you think that Dr. Squatch is some small, wholesome company, Burt's Bees, Native? Think again. They've all been bought out by mega corporations and private equity firms who hijack these beloved brands and fill them with the same corporate slop as everyone else. But one company is doing things differently, the Van Man Company. They started the tallow trend a few years back with their grass-fed tallow moisturizers, and they've been crushing it ever since with hit after hit of clean, nearly edible solutions to your everyday products. Tallow is the best moisturizer on earth because the fatty acids in tallow are nearly identical to the oils in your own skin. One use and you'll feel the difference. Your skin will be softer and smoother than anything you've gotten from a bottle full of chemicals and fillers. And because there's no filler garbage, a little goes a long way. The stuff actually lasts. Their tallow balm isn't just a moisturizer, though. It can replace your lotion, night cream, wrinkle cream, even Neosporin and diaper balm. So if you're ready to ditch the corporate chemicals, go to vanman.shop/Dave and use the promo code Dave for 15% off your first order. That's vanman.shop/Dave, promo code Dave for 15% off your first order. Van Man, real ingredients, no exceptions. All right, let's get back into the show. So, I don't know, I guess another detail that is interesting, because you had mentioned, the documents that they're still withholding. Thomas Massie is furious about this, and he's been out there saying that they're absolutely in violation of the law that they got passed, and that the law very clearly states that they had to turn over all this stuff. I mean, all this stuff was behind deadline. They were supposed to have turned this over a long time ago, and they're still holding documents back. So, I mean, just again, you tell me how this doesn't just look terrible for the Trump administration. You guys ran on releasing all of this stuff, then tried to pivot and back away and pretend like none of it existed, and it's a big Democratic hoax. Then you're not even really releasing all the information when it comes down to it. So, yeah, not good.
Well, you said tell me. I don't want to have to defend it.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Fair enough. But it's the claims just are not adding up. And yeah, it looks very bad. And of course, by the way, today also, as this happened, Dan Bongino came back to podcasting. And I did not watch the show because I just don't. I mean, Dan Bongino's always just been I've never thought Dan Bongino put on a good show, even before, when I would have been more sympathetic to his message when he was pretending to care about stuff like this. But I did see a couple of the clips that I thought were worth playing and responding to, because you're kind of wondering, you're like, what is he possibly going to say? I mean, what could you say? And it kind of turns out he's got nothing. Like, all this time preparing to come back, he didn't even work anything out. We have a couple of these clips, Natalie. You want to pull up? Let's see, Dan Bongino on his triumphant return.
Dirty diaper face in action.
The buck stops on that Resolute desk. They are tough decisions, and that's what happened. I know a lot of you are looking. And by the way, to the people in the chat, I just want you to know a little message to you. Some of the supporters, we love you guys, the detractors. Welcome here too. But I just want you to know something. I own you guys. You can't stay away. I tweet, you instantly respond. I do a show, you can't stay away. Remember, Jim, no one's going to be there. Really? It's 194,000 no one's. Biggest live stream in the world right now. No one's going to be there. No one. Really? Then when people show up, that's just us there to review. Great. I own you guys. The greatest superpower in the world. It's the power to command attention. And I own yours. You can't stay away. But to my supporters and people who love the show, thanks. It's an honor. I say with humility. It's really an honor to call you all friends. But watching the other clowns, keep it up. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, by the way, 10 a.m.
All right. Well, so here's Dan Bongino crashing out on his own chat because he's just getting destroyed in it, I'm sure. And it's just, I don't know, dude. It's like, so like, this is what he's got to go, ah, you clowns, you can't stay away. Like, dude, you can't like, you can't brag about the numbers of people who want to see the disgraced former deputy FBI director like answer for himself of what he promised he was going to go into government and get to the bottom of this very specific thing, and then turned around and told you that it didn't exist and that he's seen the proof that he killed himself, which he still will not share with any of us. And they go, oh, I own you. Because it's like, dude, I mean, look, I don't know. I don't possibly understand how anybody, it's almost like out of some Matrix shit, like anybody who could still be a fan of Dan Bongino, you're just choosing to take the blue pill. Like you've seen that this is bullshit, but you're choosing to ignore that. But yeah, dude, let's see, again, like we've always said, let's see where your numbers are in a month, man. Let's see. That's the test. Not this first show back where people were thinking you'd say something. And as you're acknowledging, half the people have shown up just to call you a fucking traitor, just to show up and call you a pedo protector. So if that means you own those people, okay. What is this, like a Don Lemon level of cope? Like what? How dumb is that, Rob? That's proof that I'm right too.
I love it. Firstly, he's almost sounding like Joe Biden with the whisper. I own you, man. So that I like. Second, he's starting to look like an old Chinese dude. It sounds like he should be talking about young grasshopper or whatever. But the actual substance of what he's saying is essentially he's taking a victory lap on being a troll, which to go from most credible person in the administration, we're going to actually deal with this, I stand by my work, to, all right, well, if everybody hates me, but I'm going to make advertising dollars because you hate me. So you're an online troll now? This is your victory lap, is that I'm so hated, but you guys can't get enough of this. So I'll continue to troll and make advertising dollars off of the supposed numbers on my Rumble show.
Yeah, it is.
He's taking a victory lap on trolling.
Yeah, that's really something. That's what you've fallen to, is aha, I pissed you off. And this, by the way, would always be, if you remember, Rob, like back in the day, like at Twitter before Elon took it over, when it was like blue check journalists in that world, that would always be like the liberal journalist cope, is they'd go, like, they would say something enormously unpopular. All of their replies would be like, we hate you. And then they'd be like, oh, I really triggered the trolls on this one, or something. You're like, like as if somehow that is an indication that you're right. Oh, look at everybody disagreeing with me. You know what that proves? That like, oh, like, okay, what's the answer, dude? Look, you can sit here and call us clowns all you want to. We're asking very specific questions, dude. You said you saw the proof that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. What did you see, sir? That's it. Is that a clownish question? You said never let go of the Epstein thing and then turned around and tried to bury it. Now we're seeing, at the very least, what we've seen from the files here is that this is real. This was a real person who was a pedophile, was very politically connected, and that all of this information, Rob, did any of it threaten national security? No. So there's been a whole bunch of shit, millions of documents that the government was keeping a secret, that you, Dan Bongino, worked to keep a secret, that Thomas Massie and Ro Kahana and Marjorie Taylor Greene made you release. What can you say? Here, let's play the other clip that I sent Natalie. I guess there were only two, but let's play this clip.
Leadership involves frequently being misunderstood and having to make decisions that's going to piss someone off. That's just the way it is. This case had been handled poorly for a long time. And if you go and look at the search warrants, and matter of fact, almost all of it's public now, thanks to President Trump and the team getting it all out there.
Thanks to Trump.
Look at the search warrants.
Pause it. I can't believe that's what he actually settled on. I cannot believe that this fucking liar, like, dude, talk about someone who will just look at their audience in the face and fucking lie to them. And I'll tell you, that is something I really do have contempt for. Like, it's different than, there's a big difference between just being wrong and doing what he just did. You know, like there is something, and I'm not trying to like, you know, I don't know. I'm not trying to like, you know, make it like, oh, we have such an important job or something like that, Rob. But like, there is something profoundly wrong about like lying to people intentionally. Like people want to understand the truth. There's this natural human desire to understand the truth. And when you do what Dan Bongino just did right there, you're abusing those people. You're abusing those people. You're fucking with their head. He's going to sit there and say that this information came out largely because of the Trump administration. Yeah, dude. Donald Trump cried uncle and signed that bill into law. And everybody knows that. He's literally he's trying to ruin the careers of all the people who pushed for that bill, including Thomas Massie, threatening Lauren Boebert and threatening Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of them. You sat there for months and told us it was a Democratic hoax and that he killed himself and that he didn't traffic anyone and that there's nothing to see there. Come on, Rob. That is even for Dan Bongino, that's fucking pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, that was a remarkable moment. Thanks to Trump. Thanks to Trump, you now have all these files, right? That's why we're all talking about it. And that's why we were all criticizing Trump, because we just don't realize the blessing of the way that they went about, you know, getting these files to us.
Yeah. Yeah, just unbelievable. All right, let's keep playing.
So, the case had had issues for a really long time, so it obviously was a mess. And this is one of those level 10 decisions where I told you, you're not going to make everyone happy. There's a shitty answer and a shittier answer. And disagreements in DC about how to handle level 10 problems. I love how people in the media acted like this was like new, as if
I'm okay with making the pedophiles unhappy. Listen, I understand that sometimes you can't make everybody happy, but if we can choose between the American public and the criminals and go for making the American public happy, I'm okay with that decision. I get that not everyone, that when people are prosecuted for their crimes, they're going to be unhappy, but I'm okay with that. And if you're going to make the people who are trying to protect the people who committed the crimes happy.
Well, that's the thing, dude. That's the thing about law enforcement, dude. You're like, fuck, man, I'm going to make the rapists unhappy if I arrest them. But it will make the rape victims awfully happy. So it's a level 10 decision, you see, Rob. I mean, what could you, yes, that's what you've got. After running on we're going to be transparent on this issue particularly, you turn around and go, well, I mean, it's complicated. Can't please everyone. That's what you came up with. And Trump gets credit for the Epstein files being released. And hey, life's tough.
And here's the mind warp. Getting the Epstein files out is kind of like the minimum level of base level transparency. That's not an effort to actually go after whatever criminal enterprise exists here. So to pretend like there was some sort of a discussion about actually using government resources to investigate what happened here, bring in the co-accomplices, go through the financial records. There's no Epstein investigative team. That doesn't exist. There's no interest in actually prosecuting these individuals. None of that's happening here. All that's happened was basically there was a effort by Thomas Massie to get some transparency and get files released. I think hoping that might actually push the government to have to take some other course of action.
That's right.
But the point I'm trying to make here is the government did not try and investigate this. They did the bare minimum, which was release files because it was demanded by other people. So to pretend like there were any discussions amongst this administration of actually going after whatever the criminal enterprise is, they're not only did they not do any of that, but they clearly tried to shelve this and get rid of it and, you know, brush it under the rug.
That's right. Yeah, no, they didn't even do the government thing where they set up a phony investigation that then clears themselves. They didn't even give us that. It's just
Where's Durham?
And Dan Bongino has
Durham's
nothing
good
to
at
say.
that.
Yeah, there you go. He's a professional. Yeah, let's keep playing.
The Biden team had done anything to get this stuff out. They'd done shit. They had done nothing. Zero. Of course, there was going to be some disagreements on what do you do about.
Let's pause it again. I'm sorry. It's just impossible not to keep just breaking up because he's just such a propagandist, man. And like, people should not fall for this shit. You've got to be smart enough to not fall for this. Like, it's like the lowest IQ, dumb, partisan bullshit. And the Biden administration didn't do anything. Yeah, dude. That's why we don't like them. That doesn't justify you doing the exact same thing. The exact same thing. Yes, dude, that's right. The Biden administration didn't do shit about it. Neither did the Trump administration before that, which was the Trump administration is the administration in control when Epstein got killed. Maybe. If he died, I don't know. But to sit here and go, oh, just try to bull you back into the like, no, Biden's the bad guys. Yeah, dude. But then you guys promised that you were going to get to the bottom of it and then lied through your fucking teeth to all of us. And we're kind of mad about that part. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Guys, as I've told you before, I have really benefited from therapy in the past. I think sometimes when you're not in therapy, you're talking too much to strangers, or you're working things out in group chats, or you're reading stuff online, but nothing beats actually sitting down and talking about your issues with a real licensed professional. And if you're thinking about doing that, if you're on the fence, consider BetterHelp, because it's the easiest way to do it. It's entirely online. It's designed to be flexible. It really is therapy for 2026. All you got to do is go to the website, you fill out a brief questionnaire, and they match you with a licensed professional therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional costs. Find the one with BetterHelp, and right now, if you want to start up, we'll sweeten it a little by giving you 10% off your first month when you go to betterhelp.com/problem. That's BetterHelp.com/problem. All right, let's get back into the show. Let's keep playing.
Grand jury material. What do you do about downloaded child pornography that was downloaded off the internet? You didn't create it, but what do you do about that? What do you do about all this? There was always going to be a disagreement. Of course, the media made this out to be like, remember that weekend? Like an intergalactic story. I'm sitting upstairs. I was home that weekend. And here's another media story. Like, Dan Bongino left town. I had a Morgan Wallen concert that night. It was on my schedule for months, you dipshits. But like, he left town. I didn't wind up going to the concert because the media was making a big deal out of these disagreements. But it was a level 10 problem. It was never going to please everyone. The person I thought at the time who nailed what the issues were with this was our good friend Mike Davis. I'll play the CNN one.
No, I think we nailed what the issue was with this. I mean, to sit here and go, you guys literally... Pam Bondi gave out fucking empty binders to a bunch of influencers and claimed the files had been released. Then we found out those weren't the files at all. Then you turned around and pivoted to it doesn't exist. There's no such thing. The media just made a bit. Yeah, obviously the media is looking for any excuse to damage the Trump administration. Look, dude, by the way, I haven't told you this, Rob. I don't think I've told anyone this. I've had, over the last month, I've had like a bunch of mainstream media outlets reaching out to fucking interview me. Like Washington Post, Vanity Fair, a bunch of them. I've said no to all of them because I know what they're doing. They're just trying to use me to hurt the administration. They're trying to go, oh, Dave Smith, former Trump supporter, now splits with them over this. We all get the game that they are playing. And like, as much as I hate the Trump administration, I hate these guys just as much. So like, no, I don't feel like, I also said to him, I was thinking about doing the thing like where you write something real fucking, some legendary response. But like, I feel like enough people have already done that to like post on Twitter, like here was my response to the Washington Post or something. It's like, that's kind of been done. But I said to both of them, I just did a podcast on this. If you want to quote me, go watch the podcast and you can pull a quote out from it. Like, why do I need to take time out of my day to job? And like, but I know what they're doing. And so like, yeah, obviously the corporate media is trying to hurt the administration, but they jumped on this one because it was a huge fucking own goal, because there was a huge scandal there and your base was against you on it. As you found out, this is why you're crashing out on your own chat right now. This is your own chat of your own show. These are your people are upset about this. And so who gives a shit what the Biden administration did or what the media did? We've already decided we hate them a long time ago. Some of us long before you did, Dan Bongino. Some of us figured it out while you were still trying to protect them. Literally. This is, by the way, this is Dan Bongino's career, just objectively speaking. It's protecting war criminals and protecting pedophiles. That's what Dan Bongino's legacy will be. But so what, dude? This is all just fucking the emptiest of cope. Like, what does any of this mean? So in other words, he's got no answers on any of this shit. He's got nothing to say. He lied through his teeth, and he's hoping you'll all forget it. That's it.
I find it so amazing that so the conversation amongst the administration that took time that they had to delay and delve into was what of this information to release, which already assumes that you have no interest of investigating and actually looking into what took place.
Right.
If you were interested, that would have been the conversation is, all right, the base is really interested in this Epstein storyline. Who's working on it? Who's the team? How much resources do we need? Who do we have to investigate? What's the starting point? Who's the unit? Who's the you know what I mean? That's the conversation to be had. Once you're lying to me because now you're trying to pretend the conversation was about release all the information, which you guys clearly didn't have an interest in. Donald Trump was Democratic hoax, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
If it was up to Donald Trump, we wouldn't have seen any of this. He had no interest in getting any of this information out, seemingly, because he got a phone call of, hey, you know, your name's in this a couple of times. And he was like, all right, then we're not putting this out. That's conspiracy skeptical thoughts, but that's seemingly
seems very reasonable guess. I mean, you know, it's either that or other people that he wanted to protect. It's really the only option. And you know, again, this is all, it's just so, come on. I mean, I don't know. Like, I understand that, like, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I know that lots of people aren't the smartest people, but like, come on, we're not this fucking dumb that you're going to sit here and say, yeah, obviously, if you were trying to release all of the Epstein stuff, there would be some tough calls. Okay, here's him with an underage girl who's a victim. Okay, well, we got to black out her face. We don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, okay, there'd be issues like that, but you can't use that as a defense when you were saying the files don't exist. It's a Democratic hoax. You weren't trying to figure out how do we get the maximum amount of information out to the people. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's a completely different thing. And if you had actually, if it had been very clear that they were making a real effort to get as much information out to the people and really help them understand what went down here and then they went, look, we just can't release the kiddie porn or something like that. Yeah, people would think that's reasonable. The problem is that you lied and you tried to pretend it didn't exist. And also, why on earth? Okay, so those are tough calls. You're not going to please everybody, right? Okay, fair enough. Let's make this really, really simple. You, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel both claimed that he killed himself, and you had seen the proof that he killed himself. Why not release that? Like, what is the conflict there? Who's going to be unhappy about that? Who will that damage? Who will that? How would it possibly hurt anything? National security, abusing victims. Like, what would possibly be the issue with releasing the proof, the very real proof that you saw and didn't at all make the fuck up that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? Because, by the way, I don't know. Like, maybe he did, but I'm not trusting you. And that's essentially what both of you asked us to do. Trust me. Trust me. Kash Patel says, trust me. If there was any information, I would be the first one to bring it to you. And then we find out there's a ton of information that he was not the first one to bring to us. So we're still supposed to just trust you, bro, on the he killed himself? Because that's quite a thing. After all the shit you talked on your podcast, that's quite a thing to then just go and say you've seen this proof and not be able to deliver anything on. And by the way, Dan Bongino's answer to this, he doesn't have one. That's why he's blocking all of you guys on Twitter. That's why when he responds to me, he'll only say, like, get your shine box, or I'll check in on your kids, or whatever weird shit he was trying to intimidate me with. That's because he has no answer for this most basic of questions. And this is why I said on the episode we did that obviously there's no way he'll agree to debate me. Because that's the first 10 seconds of the debate right there. And what's his answer? He doesn't have one because he's lying. It's really that simple.
Nobody's done more for transparency than the Trump administration, and that's why the files are out there.
Right. It's really something. Anyway, he's out there bragging about having real big numbers for his stream. He certainly did have big numbers on this one. I'll be very interested to see how this plays out, though. How this goes. I don't see how he can keep this up. Like this is all he's got, and refusing to talk to anybody who disagrees with it. Like, obviously he's not going to talk to me, but like, would he talk? I mean, I'm happy to do it if he is. My offer stands, shine box and all. But what it's like the majority of the fucking base who are like want the Epstein files out and are furious about the way they were covered up. He's going to try to do this without ever addressing it. Good luck. I don't know, Rob. That seems tough to me. Okay, let's see here, because there's a couple other things that we really should talk about. Well, I guess I want to, if we have time, I guess quickly talk about Iran and then Don Lemon. I wanted to make sure I got both of these in. So let's do the Iran thing first, because I don't know if you've even noticed, it's kind of being overshadowed by the ICE, Border Patrol, Don Lemon situation, and then the Epstein files. They've both been like such big stories that it's almost like the war propaganda that's getting built up seems to be kind of built up in almost quietly. But I don't know if you've seen, Rob, but there's all types of claims now being made by war hawks online that Iran has killed like tens of thousands of protesters. I saw the number 30,000 being floated out a lot. I saw the other day, I was very surprised. Mike Cernovich tweeted, "I've done my homework and it's at least 30,000," which I would love for him to share his homework with us, because I don't see any evidence of this at all. And in fact, the CIA and the Wall Street Journal, at least I read the other day, had the number at like 6,000. A few people had even claimed the number was like 100,000 or something like that. I saw there was one, I guess, I don't know if you saw this, but I was in a Twitter controversy. I'm like, it's like a weird thing where like every time I tweet now, it's like trending and it's a controversy. So I can't pay attention to all of them. But some woman had, some woman said to me that Iran has killed more people than Israel killed in Gaza in just the last week. And I responded by saying, ha, 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 ha. Like, I just laughed. And then I guess the controversy was they're like, Jay Smith is laughing at the slaughter of Iranians. And it's like, no, of course not. I'm laughing at the ridiculous propaganda here. Like, just think about, Rob, what is being alleged here. There's 30,000 people. You could double check my numbers on this. But like, I believe like the worst massacres in World War II are like, the estimates are like around 30,000 people being killed, like something like that. So like what people are, they're claiming that one of the worst massacres in human history has just happened in Iran. And yet we have no evidence of this. No evidence. Now, I understand they turned the internet out for a few days and stuff, but Rob, you've seen tons of images out of Iran. I've seen tons of images out of Iran. Like, what are you alleging happened here? And you notice, like, none of them get into that. Like, are you telling me they started carpet bombing Tehran? But how do you come up with these numbers in such a short period of time? It just does not seem right to me. Like I don't know. And like, what exactly is being alleged? Are you alleging that they took peaceful protesters, lined them up and just started executing them? Or are you claiming that there were like clashes that broke out and people died in these clashes? Like, what exactly? I've seen one image with like some body bags, I guess dozens maybe in this one image, but it's completely unclear what happened here. So like, I don't know. And look, Rob, of course, it just seems pretty obvious that like, well, this is awfully coincidental that like right after Donald Trump said his red line, as if you started shooting protesters, that now all types of claims from very reliable NGOs that are funded by the National Endowment for Democracy are claiming that thousands of people are being killed. Meanwhile, not a shred of evidence has been produced to back up anything like the scale of numbers that these people are claiming. Now, then again, maybe they're doing it. I'm not saying, my whole thing here is, like I said at the beginning of the show, governments are criminal. And like, I'm not saying, oh, I'm not saying like the Ayatollah or the mullahs would never do something like this. I'm just saying I know how much the war party lies about this shit, and it just seems like almost impossible to believe. Like, I just don't even know how people could just say numbers like this. It's like, have you just not read about wars before? Like, these numbers just don't make sense. It's 100,000 people. People get like, how is this even possible? And I think the answer is it's not. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Vandy Crisps. You know, I've heard a lot of great feedback about Vandy Crisps since they've been joining. I love them. I've been eating them all the time, and I've heard a lot from people who listen to the show that they enjoy them too. Vandy Crisps are part of a growing movement to bring back real food, the kind our grandparents ate before snacks were made in labs. Vandy Crisps contains just 3 ingredients. It's 100% pesticide-free potatoes, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. That's it. No seed oils, no mystery chemicals, just real food. These chips don't only avoid all the bad stuff, but they taste incredible too. Snacking on Vandy Crisps is nothing like eating regular chips. With Vandy, you feel satiated, light, and energetic. There's no crash or bloat or sluggish feeling afterward. And because these chips are made from real food, they're more satiating. So you don't find yourself uncontrollably binging and still feeling hungry. If you love Vandy, make sure to also check out Massa Chips. Massa is Vandy's sister company. They make the most delicious 3-ingredient tortilla chip. So whether you want potato chips or tortilla chips, they got you covered. And if you're ready to give Vandy a try or Massa a try, use the promo code Dave. That'll get you 25% off your first order at vandycrisps.com or massachips.com. Or you could just click on the link in the episode description. All right, let's get back into the show. But
I
ahead,
also
Robbie.
listen. If 30,000 people died in Iran at the hands of the regime over a short period of time or any period of time, that's tragic. And you know, I would hope it gets reported on and that there was clarity as to what took place, and maybe there was a way to, you know, not have that. But it's no reason to go to war with them. So
Oh,
in
absolutely, yeah.
in the context of that information appearing being truthful or not truthful over the last 2 weeks, in my opinion, it's kind of irrelevant because it's not a reason that we should be going to war with Iran. So if you're using a piece of information to try and sell me on a war with Iran, and it's the fact that it was killing its own civilians, I mean, are we now going to war with everyone every time that they kill their civilians? And it's pretty convenient if it's people that we otherwise wanted to go to war with anyways. And do we actually have a plan for warfare with them? Like, is the entire world united with us right now that this level of civilian killing can't take place, and so it's going to be the entire world against Iran? Or are we going to plea with the rest of the world that they have to join us because we can't have this level of civilian killing? Like, what you know what I mean? Like, I need a little bit more here to go, hey, this is relevant information, because if the information is just being presented as a way to go, hey, we need to have a war, well, I don't think that's a good reason to have a war, nor do I think you have much of a plan for a war here.
Well, so you're going to tell me, right, that we can, you know, we can back the Israelis while they kill 100,000, you know, Gazans, but we have to go to war with Iran when it's totally unclear that they've done anything even approaching that. And it just so has, don't let it fuck with you, Rob, that it happens to be the 7th country on General Wesley Clark's list of 7 countries.
How many
that
people
we're
died
overthrow.
in Yemen when we were fueling Saudi Arabian planes?
Hundreds of thousands, in the high hundreds of thousands for sure. At least 500,000.
Hey, listen,
500,000, dude. 500,000 in Syria, probably in the hundreds of thousands in Libya, 1 million in Iraq, probably over 1 million, hundreds of thousands in Afghanistan. I mean, the idea that U.S. foreign policy is just motivated by like people are being killed and therefore we have to go stop the killing when we're the biggest killers. We kill in bigger numbers than any of them. It's just too ridiculous. It's too ridiculous. The idea, look, I tweeted this the other day, but the idea, if anybody ever told you, like if you ever in the wild just met someone, maybe like in your mom's, you know, like a friend of your mom's, and she just said something about how she believed that the government makes decisions based on what's in the best interest of the people of the United States of America. You'd kind of be like, oh, that's adorable that someone still has that naive view, you know? Now imagine someone believed that our government made decisions based on what's in the best interest of the Iranian people. Just give me a fucking break, okay? That's not what any of this is about. And we know this. And that's one of the things about the Iran thing that's just so infuriating, because they're always trying to just gaslight us. Like, this is about regime change on behalf of Israel. And everybody paying attention knows that. Everybody, including the ones who are for it. In fact, they're the ones who know that the best. That's why Lindsey Graham is for it. That's why Mark Levin is for it. Now, they won't admit that, but we all know it's the case. Look, just because we're up against the end of time, I do just briefly want to talk about the Don Lemon thing. I talked about this a bit on Piers Morgan's show too, but I did just want to say that. So for you guys who didn't see, in fact, I think we might have talked about it on the show, the Don Lemon church incident, but he's been arrested and evidently is being charged with a felony for that as well. Now, Don Lemon is the dumbest human being on the planet. I don't know. He's up there. It's remarkable. I said on Piers Morgan today that, like, if Don Lemon just like gets a thought out, it feels similar to like when my 4-year-old like will say a complex sentence, like he'll just say like a complex thing that had like 3 different thoughts about, like, my wife took him to a birthday party the other day, and my 4-year-old came up to me right before he left, and he said, "I know you're going to miss me, Daddy. I'll miss you too. Don't worry. I'll come right back because we're best buds."
Sweetie.
And it was just such you're like, hey, good job, dude. That was a nice little paragraph that's how I feel about Don Lemon when he makes a point. Like, no matter how dumb it is, if he gets the talking point out, you're like, very good, Don. That was excellent. Now, look, obviously Don Lemon is not a journalist, has never been a journalist. He wasn't being a journalist in the church there. He was being an idiot activist. He wasn't interviewing the people and asking them why they're going. He's trying to grill the priest who made him look like an idiot. But I guess, much like with the Jimmy Kimmel thing, much like with the ICE in Minneapolis thing, it's just like, dude, the Trump administration and the Trump supporters, they're so bad at strategy. They're so bad at, like, you're like, dude, this guy is just embarrassing himself with a dwindling audience. He's essentially a non-factor. He's Sam Harris now. He exists just to be made fun of. He's literally the only thing you ever see out of Don Lemon is when there's a viral video going around because Don Lemon just embarrassed himself again. Like, he was just said the dumbest thing again. He started talking about the First Amendment and clearly has no idea what the First Amendment means, But now he's getting standing ovations at the Oscars. He's gonna be the guy who has this martyr story. It's handing a win to your enemy as they're drowning in L's. It's not smart.
I very rarely disagree with you.
All right.
And I did a long segment on this on the Run Your Mouth podcast, and I said what Don Lemon is guilty of is being too stupid to appear in public. And I would actually be okay if they prosecuted him with that and then found out it wasn't a law and then created the Don Lemon law for when we have instances of other Don Lemons. But in this case, I think it's like if a cop pulled you over and wanted to let you off the hook and was like, "What's that over there?" And you're like, "Oh, that's some drugs I bought last night and I have it here so I don't forget in the car because I'm supposed to sell it to kids later." And he's like, "Why did you just say that? I was going to let you go and now I can't."
I know what you're saying, because Don Lemon was like giving him advice and shit like that. Like, he was definitely
and he made the statements of we are going. He just didn't understand what the right to free speech is, and said that we're here to. I think he used the word agitate and maybe even disturb. He did not. He actually is too stupid. He doesn't understand the law, and he made a public comment that they were there to disturb prayers inside this church because he thought that they had a right to do so, and proclaimed that he was breaking the law. And I listen, I think he just said things that he needs a lawyer. He could have gotten away with what he did if he just said something else or nothing at all. But based off of what he said, I think it's you can prosecute him.
No, I agree. So I don't disagree with you on that. I think you're right. I think you can prosecute him, and I think he kind of, in a way, deserves it. I'm just saying, in the grander chessboard, I don't think it's a good strategy.
Yeah, let them celebrate Don Lemon for being so stupid and actually having violated the law, for at least the way I understand it. So, when you get people on something that's like just nonsense, it's not helpful because that just like allows corrupt officials to pick who they're going after. Here, the guy actually, I think, broke the law and made a public statement, "I just broke the law." And so if the left wants to celebrate, the breaking of the law and disruption of church ceremonies in the name of protesting. If that's what they want to get behind and celebrate Don Lemon for, I don't think that's a good look for them.
Yeah. All right. Fair point. All right, Rob. Well, we rarely disagree, but it's good. It's good. It's good when we do. It's good when we do. All right. We do have to wrap up. Sorry.
It might play out that he gets a new CNN show and I'm completely wrong. But in the meantime.
No, I don't think. No, as you say, the thing is that you make a fair point. Don Lemon is dumb enough that he'll fuck this up in one way or the other. And it really is as dumb as he was on CNN.
Watching them clap for him at the Emmys or whatever it was yesterday. That's like when they clap for some
not
trans
the Emmys.
person. Doesn't matter. I'm just saying clapping for Don Lemon out of ceremony when Don Lemon was in the wrong on this is like when they were celebrating trans thing. And so, yeah, you guys are just all in the wrong. You're going to laugh at you for being wrong.
I feel like it's Jimmy Kimmel where like you give him 6 million viewers for his next show when there was like no need to give him that. But I get your point. Like we do have to wrap up on that. Come out this weekend and see us in Key West. Ooh, me and Rob are going to be having some fun. Come on out there. It's a real party town and party audiences and stuff. So it's going to be a real fun weekend. And we'll catch you back tomorrow with a brand new episode. Peace.